lost to Texas last night. So I anticipate a pretty motivated Cyclone team.
So they lost to Texas at home, but didn't have Ashley Jones in that game, one of their top players, all Big 12 player. Do you have any idea if she'll be back and available on Sunday?
Well, it definitely was social media fodder last night.
Okay.
So obviously it was announced that she was out for health and safety protocol, as well as her sister, who's also a starter for them, as well as one other player. But there were also some tagged Facebook comments by her dad saying that they actually didn't have COVID, but they were close contacts and were unvaccinated. And so right now the Big 12 rule is a 5-day isolation followed by a negative test. So, I think they anticipate she'll be back. We will plan for her to be back. They certainly aren't the same team without her. They do some of the same things, but she kind of makes them go. So we're going to anticipate she plays.
All right, very good. So that's a big game. It's Sunday, 2 o'clock in the Farrell Center, Baylor and Iowa State. It's the promotion that day is We Back Pat, certainly in honor of Pat Summitt. Is that close to your heart?
Oh, I was when Pat retired, I was coaching at Arkansas in the SEC, and the last time I actually coached against Pat was in Bowling Thompson Arena, and we beat them. And when I think about, in coaching, some of the biggest moments I've had or biggest memories, that was one of them. We beat the team that had Glory Johnson and Shakina Strickland, and it was their senior day in Bowling and Thompson. And it was just one of those moments you don't forget, it just – and honestly, earlier that year, it was the second time we'd played them. I think they beat us by 25 or 30 in Fayetteville.
Wow.
And so we were in the midst of a really good run there. But, yeah, Pat, synonymous with basketball, with women's basketball, really – when she started things out, there was really no commitment to the game, and I think she was one of the first people that really challenged commitment on the women's side. And the SEC was so far ahead of the other leagues in terms of supporting women's basketball and the resources that they gave. So a pioneer. I know there are many pioneers before her, but certainly in kind of this modern era, what she did and how she did it, she'll never be forgotten.
Wow. And it seems like pretty much everyone in women's college basketball has that same feeling of respect for Pat Summitt. But I'm guessing especially if you're in the same conference, if you play them regularly, if you're in the SEC or you've been to Thompson Bowling, I guess that is really amplified, isn't it?
I feel like anyone from my generation, not to give my age away, but honestly, I feel like I remember my first Pat Summitt sighting. I remember playing against, as a Wisconsin Viking club at an AAU national tournament, playing against the Tennessee team and beating them and Pat being in the gym. And it was just you just knew she was sitting there front row.
Right.
And so, and I'm sure there's some, Gino's a little like that, but she was before, for my era, Gino hadn't come into play yet.
Right.
They weren't good until the 90s, which was when I was in college. So, I think everyone's got a Pat Summitt story or, has read her book or, has been motivated in some way that coaches in our profession.
That's great. So that game this Sunday is the Week Back Pat game. So that will be certainly her legacy will be continued, and we'll do what we can to continue that. Let's take a break. Back with more in just a moment. You're tuned in to the Baylor Coaches Show. We're live at Rudy's on the Circle in Waco. Coach Nicki, Collen, our guest, talking Baylor women's basketball, and we'll be right back after this. Back with us live from Rudy's on the Baylor Coaches Show this evening. Cold outside, plenty warm here inside Rudy's. We appreciate Coach Nicki Collen being our leadoff guest tonight in our first Coaches Show of the spring semester. I want to give you our Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics health tip of the week. Staying home is one of the best ways to stay well and reduce the spread of COVID-19. Avoid contact with others, limit unnecessary trips unless you're going to Rudy's, and have groceries delivered. Find more tips at bswhealth.com/COVID-19. So we mentioned, Coach, We Back Pat is the promotion this Sunday. A couple of others that are coming up against Oklahoma on February 2nd. That will be a gold out in the Farrell Center.
Should have saved the jacket.
Well, you can bring it back out. The gold blazer may come back out on February 2nd.
You don't repeat? The fit's got to change. The fit's got to change.
Really? You can't repeat anything?
The one thing that doesn't come back is if you lose in something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But,
so a gold out February 2nd, the game against Oklahoma in the Farrell Center. Then Texas comes to town on February 4th, and the promotion that night is something really big that I can't tell you about, but it's going to be really big. So as we get a little closer, you'll know about that. And I'm saying, like, blow the budget big. Right, Jovan? Blow the budget big on February 4th for Texas. So that'll be fun. Do you have a sense yet of the rivalry, Baylor, Texas, Baylor, TCU, things like that?
Well, I think even coming to the volleyball game when Texas came to town, I'd been to quite a few volleyball matches, and certainly the attendance and kind of the nature of the crowd at that game was a little bit different.
You could tell, right?
Yeah, I think it's easy to not like Texas. I will tell you, it's really funny because the universal, symbol for horns, which is a play call in basketball, and when I first started calling it, every time I would put Kate would do this. And I said, no, that's going to be a play too, But every time I do that, she's like, it's this.
Right.
That's so, funny. Yeah, it was just kind of. But now we do have this in as well.
All right, very good. So that's it's coming up right around the corner, February 4th. Hey, we've got a question from the audience. They didn't put their name on it, so I'm not sure who it's from. But this is our First Place Foods Ask the Coach question. First Place Foods, that's a darn good pickle. And the question is, what has been your favorite moment at Baylor so far?
I think that's really hard to say favorite. I have more like favorites.
Okay.
One of my favorites was just the press conference. Just the energy in the building and, just the environment. I would say the second, off-court moment would be being in the student section and leading the band at the men's game.
That was
like
cool.
The energy in the Farrell Center. Like, I just, when I was – all I think about when I'm in those situations is we got to make this happen on the women's side. Yeah. That's what I think. Like when I think about the energy from the students and, how the students create environment in there. We have great fans on the women's side, but to continue to grow the student fan base is really important to me personally. And so, and then on the court, I don't know that I have a favorite moment. I think the Kansas win was really big. I think the emotion of that game, I would say, even more than like the close win against Missouri. I do think that the expectations are so high here, and so there's so much pressure, and there's probably I don't think people realize how much pressure there is on our senior class. And so, Queen wouldn't let me go after that game the whole way off the court.
Really?
And so it's the energy you get from them because I've said from the beginning that I'm just a big believer that it's not about me, that it's always going to be about the players, and I always want them to know that. But I just really felt touched by kind of how they felt for me in that moment.
That's great. That was your first Big 12 win at Kansas. Very nice. Great question, whoever that was from. I'm sorry I don't know who asked that question, but very good. Along those lines also, there's more wins to come, a lot more, and bigger wins to come. So we'll just say your on-court favorite moment hasn't happened yet.
Correct. I like that.
Yeah, very good. So there's plenty more to come. We've got cameras here at Rudy's, but you've got cameras following you all the time these days. The documentary, are y'all enjoying that on Big 12 Now on ESPN Plus? Our time, really behind-the-scenes access that you can't get anywhere else for Baylor men's and women's basketball. What's that like? I mean, you got cameras following you literally all the time.
I think we're all kind of starting to get used to it, And in fact, actually, one of my assistants yesterday or the day before had it on and then freaked out because she'd forgotten we were in a staff meeting,
Yeah.
and she's like, "Oh wait, I'm mic'd." But we made a conscious decision the first time I talked to Bo from ESPN about the possibility of this. I just thought it was a unique opportunity to blow the doors open and welcome people in. I don't have anything to hide. We're passionate about what we do. There's good, there's bad, there's excitement, there's sadness, there's I told my team the other day I got pretty emotional in the locker room, and I said, some people would see tears as a sign of weakness. This is me, and I'm at this point in my life where I'm not afraid to share that with other people. And so, I felt like, hey, this program has been so successful, and people haven't known a lot about the inside of it. And knowing that this change was happening, and we're out there pounding the pavement, recruiting, and building a new fan base, and letting people from the fan base that has always been so loyal to this program, it's just a different look that they've never seen. And so, I thought it couldn't hurt us, not knowing what it was going to look like, or how it was going to be portrayed, or if we were going to win every game or lose every game. I thought it would be authentic and real, and I think that's what it's been.
That's good. Well, real credit to you and your staff and Coach Drew and his staff and our administration to allow it to happen, because I think you have to have a lot of faith in your student athletes and your staff, to open the doors wide open, like you said.
Yeah, you want to protect your student athletes, but I think they've enjoyed it too. This is a generation that's used to cameras in their faces and camera phones, and they are constantly FaceTiming, and you guys will see in a future episode. I think it's the funniest thing because they traveled with me home to Atlanta, and you see the difference between adults on camera and children on camera. My daughter and her friends couldn't get enough. The other parents were like, TL, can you turn the camera off? It's, and the parents were like, wait, this is being filmed?
Yeah.
Wait, what? So it's just generationally, I think, a little bit different, for them. And once again, I've said it before, I'm not afraid of anyone to walk in our gym and be at our practices. We're not out to embarrass anybody. We're an encouraging group. Doesn't mean we don't challenge them or are easy on them all the time, but there's nothing to hide.
Yeah, very good. Well, I think it's great. I think it's great publicity for the school, for the program, and well done by the crew that's working on that also.
For sure.
All right. We're going to let you go back to work.
All
Beat
right.
Iowa State on Sunday. We're looking
Right.
forward to that game. And
Hey,
thanks
it's the
for
main
being
event
here.
now. Coach Drew will be here.
No,
I'm like
are
I'm like
main
the like
event.
the
Come on.
I'm like the warm up act.
No, you're the
before
main event. What? This place may clear out now that Coach
Yeah,
Drew's
exactly.
coming. Thanks for being here.
All
Coach
right,
Nicki
thanks.
Collen with us, Baylor women's basketball coach. Great time with Coach. And Coach Drew is here. We'll visit with Scott Drew when we come back. This is the Baylor Coaches Show live from Rudy's. We'll take a short break and be right back. Back with us live from Rudy's on the Circle in Waco, our Baylor Coaches Show tonight. Hey, thanks for being with us. Thanks to Coach Nicki Collen, our first guest tonight. Now we're going to slum with the Big 12 championship coach, the national championship coach. Scott Drew is with us. Welcome, Coach.
Thanks for having me, and it's great seeing everybody here.
Appreciate you being here. Thanks very much. I know it's a quick trip here after practice, but thanks very much. Let me start with where I ended with Nicki, the documentary, the docuseries, Our Time. Great publicity, isn't it, for your program and for Baylor?
Well, and ESPN always does a great job, but the TL and the film crew has done a great job in making a lot of friends with our players and coaches, and I know we're excited to see them every day because they do a great job in making us feel comfortable, and it's great working with professionals.
Yeah, there has to be a real trust factor there both ways, isn't there, to do something like this?
Well, and this is not their first rodeo.
Yeah.
They've done quite a few of these, but I know it's something where there's good days, there's bad days, but what I appreciate is every day they always have a smile and they're excited to be with us, and I know our players, they love having an opportunity to show the world what they're like off the court, and I think they've done a great job in capturing that so far, and they'll have a lot more in the future, which is really exciting. Yeah.
Are you to the point yet where you're mic'd up all the time, your cameras are around you? Do you kind of forget that that's going on, or are you to that point yet?
Well, definitely. Some of the mics are they you can't even feel them,
right?
Yeah. So that makes it a lot easier. Like you wear these kind of headsets, you would know.
Sure.
But I mean, the technology they have makes it really easy. And after you put it on within 2-3 minutes. The only time I realize, though, I still mute it when I go to the bathroom, all right? Certain times you're going to do what you're going to do, all right?
That's very fair. Absolutely. That is very fair. Well, congratulations on the win over West Virginia. Man, what a gritty win that was on Tuesday night.
Yeah, really, really proud of the guys. And as you know, when you lose a couple, in the Big 12 especially, one loss can lead to 2, 3, 4 really quick because there is no easy game. There's no game where you can get your confidence back. You have to go out there and earn it and win it. And being a shorthanded, people want to know, like, what happened. And, well, James being injured in the Texas Tech game affected us. And Jeremy, obviously, not playing has affected us. But it gives other people a chance to step forward. And in West Virginia, the guys really did a great job in stepping up. And I probably made the mistake in Oklahoma State. James wanted to give it a try and love his toughness. But in hindsight, he wasn't able to be effective. Yeah. So it was clearly better to know going into West Virginia he wasn't going to play. Other people knew what they had to do. We could game plan accordingly. And I tell you, Jeremy and Langston and James did a great job coaching on the sideline. I was joking with James. I think he got a gray hair from coaching that game. Yeah. He said playing's a lot easier.
He learned the other side of that. But you really gave those guys responsibility, didn't you? They weren't playing in the game, but you gave them jobs on the sideline.
They all had jobs, and we were holding them accountable.
As coaches are, for sure. And the game was early. It was 4 o'clock Central Time. It was 5 o'clock Eastern Time there in Morgantown. And I thought, mistakenly, that we might get a break with the crowd. But, man, they nearly filled that place up.
Well, what you love about the Big 12 is you get there, and it's an hour and a half before game time, and the student section's starting to fill up. So you don't have to worry about motivating your guys. They go out to shoot, and they hear everybody talking noise and smack, and instantaneously they're fired up. And then I thought with the 10 inches of snow that might keep some people away, but I guess they're used to snow there, and it didn't affect any of them. That or was the only place in town that was warm, so they all went to the gym. But you get great atmospheres, great crowds in the Big 12, and that's what makes it so hard because when you play in front of in fact, I was talking to King because he's done such a great job broadcasting ESPN2 games and whatnot, and he said when he does it at home, it's just not the same. When you're at the game and the fans are there, you just have a different adrenaline, and it brings out a different energy, and that's why basketball, more than other sports, because the closeness of the fans affects you, and basketball, they're right on top of you.
And that's your point here at the Farrell Center.
Absolutely.
That you know what it's like going into places like WVU Coliseum. We need to have and encourage that same type of environment.
Yeah,
here.
and it's great having the students back, and
Yeah.
we'll have Oklahoma State. There was a pretty good student turnout, and our fans have been outstanding. But when students get back, it just raises it to another level, and they bring a different energy. You know, teenagers got a little more bounce than we do.
That is true. It seemed like Matt Meyer was sort of a target of the fans there. So for those of you who don't know, in that Coliseum, the student section is right down on the floor, and they are very organized. They do a sheet, gives you information about Baylor, about the players, just gives them some ammo going into the game, and they have a bum of the game that they pick every week. And I never saw the sheet, but apparently it was Matt Meyer, because they were on him from the minute he stepped on the court, and he responded really well.
Yeah, and in fact, last year, remember, we won conference, first time in school's history down there. So I was joking after the game. I said, should we just move all our home games to here? I think he likes, he says there's a lot of hairstyles similar to him, the mullet down there. So he felt right at home, you know.
That's funny. That's good. He did sort of fit in there in Morgantown, didn't he? But man, he had a great game. 11 points in the first half. Finished with 20. His shot was on.
Yeah, and Matt's really improved his shooting. Really, it comes down to shot selection, and when he gets quality looks, he's going to make them more times than not. And I thought the guys did a good job getting him the ball, and he did a good job getting open, and the staff did a good job getting him looks, especially after he got going early on. And with that, at the same time, I thought everybody that played really defensively to hold them to 39% field goal percentage was the key. And then with that, we really eliminated a lot of our live ball turnovers, and that allowed us to set our defense, which was huge.
So playing without James Akinjo and Jeremy Sohan in that game, and Langston Love, but you lost your point guard. I mean, the point guard that's leading the league in assists in Akinjo. Thought Adam Flagler stepped in and handled that role really well.
Yeah, I thought the first play of the game, we turned it over, but it's a dead ball turnover. We threw it out of bounds, and you're a little concerned. You're like, wait a minute here, can we get one pass in? But after that, the last 10 minutes of the game, we didn't have a turnover.
Wow.
And or whatever it was close to that. And I thought Adam and Dale and LJ did a great job, and also Kendall, Matt, John Flo, and Jordan really did a great job. He didn't play a lot of minutes, but everything that he did on the court was positive, and that's really hard. You step into a hostile environment, and sometimes the first thing you do is you're nervous, you make a mistake, or you try to do too much. And the great thing with Jordan is he just played his game and really helped us on the offensive end and defensive end when he was in.
Explain to everybody, you think James is out. You lost your starting point guard. You think, all right, just move a guard over there. But, man, how different is it, the point guard, compared to the two, the shooting guard?
Well, I think in a perfect world, you look last year is great having 2 point guards, and really Maceo could play some point. And with you always rather have more point guards than less point guards, but point guard and quarterback positions are very similar from the standpoint. Usually you grew up playing the quarterback or the point guard. You don't just switch and jump over there. It's for people flying a plane versus being a flight attendant. You know, there's a big difference. So, and that's where, again, really credit to Adam and LJ and Dale, especially at the guard spot and handling the ball. And West Virginia and everyone in the Big 12 is so good defensively. The number one thing is you got to take care of the ball, and they did.
All right, big win over West Virginia. Bears back on the road, headed to Norman to play Oklahoma this Saturday. Finally back home again next week, hosting Kansas State on Tuesday. Let's take a break. Back with more in a moment. Coach Scott Drew, our guest on the Baylor Coaches Show, live from Rudy's Real Texas Barbecue. We'll be right back after this. Back with us as we continue on the Baylor Coaches Show, live from Rudy's this evening. Appreciate Rudy's, our host. Rudy's Real Texas Barbecue. Coach, Coach Scott Drew is our guest this half hour. And, Coach, here's our Academy Sports and Outdoors Ask the Coach question. It's brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, the official sporting goods and outdoor retailer of the Big 12 Conference. Question is, who are some of your mentors that helped you develop your coaching philosophy?
Great question, and obviously it starts with my dad. Spent the most time with him, and Hall of Fame coach, a great person to learn under. And one of the best things he did was he gave his assistants a lot of responsibility, so that enables you to be ready as a head coach because you've already been there and done a lot of it. The second one was probably Coach Dale Brown at LSU, because my dad worked for him from 72 to 76, but Coach Brown always really helped me, especially early on when we got here with when he went to LSU. They weren't very good in dealing with the media and how they built a program over 25 years, and just what he had to do to help that program become accomplished. And he just recently had his name put on the court there, which is outstanding. And then the other thing that's really been great is spending the last 19 years in the Big 12. You really study who you compete against. So you learn a lot going against people. And we always say in practice, iron sharpens iron. Well, I mean, going in a league where you have the Bob Knights, the Eddie Suttons, the Kelvin Sampsons, the Rick Barnes, and on down, the Lon Krugers, I mean, it makes you better at what you do. Otherwise, you don't have a chance to be successful.
Wow, great answer. That's our Academy Sports and Outdoors Ask the Coach question for this week. Back to our First Place Foods Ask the Coach also. It's First Place Foods. That's a darn good pickle. Dr. Jim Morton is right here, and your hunting buddy. Jim says, good question, Jim. Please update us on the rehab and the status of Kenjo, Sohan, and Love.
Leave it to a doctor to ask that question, so that's well done.
Good job.
First of all, Matt Myers Tooth's doing okay, so that's one thing. But James is good thing is MRI and X-rays were good, so it's just a matter of pain tolerance, and he's getting more and more movement, and hopefully sooner rather than later we can get him back. Jeremy's ankle's getting better, and he's doing a great job with rehab as well. So hopefully both of them sooner rather than later. And then Langston, the ACLs, unfortunately that's the one injury still that takes 6 to 9 months, and then really it takes probably a year till they get back to playing. In the mental part, that's one thing with the pro sports have done such a great job in realizing serious injuries, like long-term injuries like that, it's the mental side that's almost more important than the physical side. So good diagnosis and prognosis and all those other big words that you like to use, Dr. Morton. So hopefully sooner than later for James and Jeremy, and Langston's doing a great job, but it'll be still a while.
Very good. All right, good question, Jim. Appreciate that. Another question on our First Place Foods Ask the Coach from Steve Van Wagner. Steve is right here. Really good question, Steve. What is your favorite away game location?
Well, you know, there is one place we are undefeated.
Ooh.
The weather is tremendous.
Oh.
And you know, the slides are a lot of fun after victory. So, I mean, I think you got to go Battle of Atlantis.
Oh, yeah.
You're 6-0 in the ballroom. I mean, it's hard to beat that. So I think we'll start there. As far as in the Big 12, I mean, every venue has its challenges. The one common denominator is usually it's a packed house. Usually the student section is really loud, and you're going against a great coach, great team, so they're all difficult.
Good question, Steve. Appreciate that. That's our First Place Foods Ask the Coach. First Place Foods, that's a darn good pickle. What about something you said that has really stuck and resonated is in the Big 12 this year especially, every game is like an NCAA tournament game. I mean, the quality of the teams in this league is so high that you're playing a tournament game basically every night.
Well, and it's been the best league for the last 7-8 years on paper, analytically, numbers-wise, but this year it's even at another level from the standpoint you can't name a team that if Oklahoma State didn't have the postseason ban, literally every team could go to the NCAA tournament numbers-wise, net ranking-wise, and who they've played. And a couple teams like Kansas State had a lot of injuries early, and so that affected their record a little bit. But now they've beaten Texas, Texas Tech. I mean, each and every night is a dogfight. And after our third game, it really dawned on me, like, these are NCAA tournament games, and you'd be happy with an NCAA tournament win, wouldn't you? Yeah. And I mean, when we get ready to play Oklahoma State, and they got the 12th best defense in the country, but it's 5th in the Big 12.
Right.
You know, I mean, like, normally you play the 12th best defense out of 358 teams. That's wow.
Yeah.
But in the Big 12, it's in the middle of the pack.
Wow.
So, again, each and every night is a war. And one thing that's made it the Big 12 tougher this year is, I think, we've been older the last couple of years. So I think a lot of teams took advantage of the COVID stuff with the extra year. And, I mean, you look on people's benches, and a lot of times you got 5th and 6th year guys on their bench.
Yeah.
And it's different when a year ago they'd go to their 8th man and it's a freshman, or the 7th man it's a freshman. Now it's a 24-year-old, and they've played 5 years or 4 years of college basketball already. So a lot of parity. A lot of parity.
Look down there, fully bearded guys are coming in off
Yeah.
the bench, right?
And, I mean, you'll play some games where they won't have a freshman play at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all juniors and seniors.
I heard today, maybe you can update me, but all 10 teams in the league right now are in the top 64 of the Ken Palm. So they were, the tournament is 68, so there's 10 tournament teams right there. So that shows how good the league is, top to bottom. Good news, right? Yeah.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah. Thanks. Let's take a break here. We'll be back, our final segment with Coach Drew. When we come back, glad you're with us tonight. Coach Scott Drew, the defending Big 12 and national champions. We'll be right back to Rudy's after this. Back with us on the Baylor Coaches Show live from Rudy's. Appreciate you being with us tonight. And we had those Coach First Place Foods Ask the Coach questions, and Arish just delivered some First Place Foods pickles to those asking the questions tonight. So Jim's got those. He's going to take home with him, and Steve's going to take some home. And we had some earlier when Nicki was on with us. How about the women playing really well, turned things around? It's great to see both programs playing really well.
Well, and I mean, you look across the board in all the sports at Baylor. It's been a phenomenal year, but really it excites the student athletes because they like going to each other's games. but it also motivates you too when you see the women's team and the volleyball team and the tennis teams and the track. I mean, you name it, everybody's doing well. And, Coach Aranda, I saw you got one of the National Coach of the Year honors, and I know, again, I think iron sharpens iron, and I think all the athletes bring out the best in each other, and they all want to carry their weight. So that's been a great thing for all of us.
Bar set really high right now, isn't it, for all sports?
All sports.
Which is fun.
Which
Absolutely.
is awesome. Absolutely.
All right, we're going to Norman to play OU coming up. Seems like we just played them. It was January 4th, so kind of a quick turnaround for the second meeting with the Sooners.
One thing that's different is in a perfect world, you would play everybody and then play everyone again.
Right.
But that's only happened like once or twice in the last 19 years. So normally you're playing some people twice and you haven't even played some people, and that is different. But at the same time, that's what makes the Big 12 also so hard, because when you beat someone once, it's really hard to beat them a second time. And that's where a lot of conferences, you only play people one time, and if you play them at their place, it's not really, you don't get a fair judgment because you don't get to play them at your place, and vice versa. In the Big 12, there's a true champion. You play everybody the same. Everyone, there's no advantages. It's all equal, so you have one true winner, and that's why, again, it's hard beating teams twice.
Would you advocate for that? I mean, in the new Big 12, when the 4 schools come in, would you advocate continuing that home and home double round robin?
You put me on a spot there. So
okay.
If there was a way scheduling-wise, it could be worked out.
Right.
Like you might have to get rid of some challenges and things.
Okay.
But yes, because it really helps your net rating and everything. I know a lot of Big 12 coaches might enjoy a couple guarantee games in there rather than that. But again, it's at the end of the year, you know who the champ is because everyone's done the same thing. And all the other leagues that don't have that, it's really hard because it really comes down to your schedule. Like if you're playing a really good team and you're only playing them at your place and you're not playing them twice, that gives you an advantage over a team that has to play them twice.
Yeah, that's why I like to remind folks or say that you are the national champs, but you're the Big 12 champs also. I mean, that's a big deal to win the Big 12 conference.
It's very hard to do, and again, that was one of those things when we won the Big 12 championship. It was so exciting last year, and it kind of got overshadowed because of the national championship. But those are championship problems, and we like those, don't we?
Let's keep having those kind of issues. Exactly. Well, thanks for being with us tonight. We really appreciate it. Good luck, safe travels to Norman to play the Sooners this week, and congratulations on the start.
Well, and thank you, fans. You've done a great job helping us this year. Sorry about the bump in the road the last 2 home games, but we'll get back to it, and thank you very much for all your support.
All right, Coach Scott Drew, coach of the Baylor Bears, number 5 in the nation, headed to Norman to play OU this Saturday. Take a break. Be back in our final segment when we come back on the Baylor Coaches Show, live from Rudy's. And back to wrap things up on tonight's Baylor Coaches Show. We appreciate everyone tuned in tonight. We appreciate everyone that is here live at Rudy's. Let you know our next show from here will be when, Ann, you know the schedule, February 3rd. 2 weeks from tonight, right here back at Rudy's. And our guest will be Michael Woodson, Baylor men's tennis coach, coach of a team that played in the NCAA championship finals last year and Big 12 champs last year. So Michael Woodson will be with us. And Felicia Mulkey, our acrobatics and tumbling coach, will be here on February 3rd, coach of the 6-time defending national champions. So big show coming up 2 weeks from tonight, February 3rd, right back here from Rudy's. Upcoming schedule, we talked about Baylor men's basketball at Oklahoma, 2 o'clock on Saturday. Women's basketball, top 15 showdown in the Farrell Center, 15th ranked Baylor against number 7 Iowa State on Sunday afternoon. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate your support, and good night from Rudy's. Good job, Jordan. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you.
This has been an exclusive presentation from Learfield.